Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Recently, an event took place, not an event, but a situation arose in British Columbia. A lady had gone to one of the shops, Shoppers Drug Mart, and the cashier or the salesperson, they were talking in a language which was not known to her. She naturally felt humiliated that English was not being used because English is the official language. And she asked them not to speak in their mother tongue, Chinese, Mandarin, and it's a habit of the people, some people, that when their minority becomes a majority, they start treating themselves as the monarch of all this survey. And thereby strike at the roots of the concept of nation, and many people out of sheer stupidity, which is called politically correctness, support them, promote them. Now, when this lady asked them to talk in English, they should have talked in English, but they objected. And lo, what a tempest it was. It was not a tempest in a teacup, it was a tempest in a teaspoon. And all invectives, racist, narrow-minded, petty-minded, these epithets were hurled at the woman for making a legitimate demand that being in Canada, you talk in English. And everybody was calling her a racist. I fail to understand how it is a racist. If you want to be addressed in a language that is a national language, is it divisive? In fact, people who talk in their own language are creating ghettos. They are divisive. They are creating divisions within the nation. They forget that in Canada there are two official languages, English and French. So you're welcome to talk in either of them. And naturally, French is mostly used in Quebec. And in the other parts of the country, mostly English is used. So it's a lingua franca as far as Canada is concerned. Now imagine you going to Russia and start talking in Urdu or Punjabi or any other language not known to them. And you expect them to talk to you in that language. Possibly Canada is the only country in the world which encourages this sort of political correctness, which is divisive, because languages unite a nation. I'm not against other languages. As a matter of fact, each language enriches a nation. And multi-languages are required, but not for the daily intercourse. You study your language, you speak in your group in that language, but when you are face to face, are in social intercourse with other people, you use the language which is known to them as well. And normally you expect that you will be talking to them in a language which is known to them, that is English. I was in Germany and I didn't know a single word of Germany. And it was a problem for me. And same happened when I was in Switzerland. Wherever I would go, people would expect me to talk in either French or German. So with a smattering of French, and then I learned a smattering of German, I was able to make my way. But imagine I wanted bread, and I went to practically all the shops, and nobody would give me bread because I didn't know pay. I had to use the word pay to get bread, a croissant. But that eluded me at that time. And here, a lady is making a very genuine demand, talk in English. And the Worst thing is that the media, which is supposed to be a clarifier of the situations, which is supposed to support, uphold the correctness of the situation, they just rounded up like a pack of dogs on that woman. And I was amazed that one agency started a poll, is she a racist or not? As if that was a world-shaking event. A common consumer going to a shop wanting to be addressed and communicated with in language she is aware of and she expects other to be aware of. Because otherwise, why should you immigrate if you don't know the language? Here in Canada, we try to give a leeway to the immigrants. I'm a new immigrant. Okay. But I do not expect a handout the way they are being given. I never expected it. I would like to be treated as one. And the moment I start being divisive, I start using my own language, not in my group, but outside the group, then I am being dishonest as a matter of fact. I want to have all the benefits without discharging any of my responsibilities and duties. As I said earlier, nothing against the native languages. They are a big storehouse of culture, history, tradition. Each language is a great resource, and all of them combined make the natural resource. But the communication has to be in one language. Otherwise, the country will become a house of Babel, the Tower of Babel. You want that to happen? And that is why you would find that in the minority majority areas, the basic Canadian values are at a discount. And that is why the nation can never be said to be united. The political parties are creating fissures that I'm going to discuss tomorrow, how one or rather non-action of the federal government is further breeding a sense of separatism in the West. But this sort of a thing, where the demand for a national language is derided, is sending a wrong message. This abusive castigation of that women should not have been there at all. As a matter of the people, the salesperson should have been asked, why are you not talking in English? I once happened to go to Surrey in British Columbia, and I saw all the signboards in Punjabi. Can there be anything more stupid than that? After Surrey is not a part of Punjab, it's a part of Canada. So having all the signboards in Punjabi means that they are essentially having separate tendencies. Somebody would say that in India, for example, there are 100 languages. Yes, there are 27 official languages, but they are used within the state, not outside the state. And if a Tamilian happens to come to Punjab, he will not talk in Tamil. He'll talk in Punjabi or Hindi. Hindi is a national language. If a Punjabi goes to Maharashtra, he will talk in Marathi or in Hindi. So you talk in a language that is used where you go. But here is the other way around. And do you know, federal government is spending more than $300 million every year on one useless activity that's called the interpreting services. Why? If an immigrant comes and he doesn't know the official language, he shouldn't be permitted. And if he's permitted and he needs an interpreter, then he needs a service, so he should pay for it. Why should I pay, I as a taxpayer, or you as a taxpayer pay, so that XYZ, who doesn't know language, while he posed to know it, wants to communicate, and he doesn't know the language. So he wants a third party to pay. It's not even robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's robbing Peter so that Paul pays to Henry. What stupidity. The whole thing seems to have been a scene from Alice in Wonderland, or reminiscent of the Middle Kingdoms, Middle Age kingdoms, where everything nonsensical step would be lauded. And here the nonsensical steps are camouflaged as politically correctness. My point today was that if we want to build Canada as a nation, as a cohesive nation, then we have got to accept two things. A, that multiculturalism does not mean promoting different cultures at the taxpayer cost. It is letting all cultures bloom on their own. People have a right to have their own culture, yes. But why should the government fund that? That heritage fund, which goes into $380 million a year, is one of the most stupid things. Again, heritage fund means funding the heritage of Canada, not the newcomers. New wannabes should not get that benefit. Translation and interpreting services for the government's job, yes. A person goes to a court or goes to an insurance company, needs interpreting services, and the government pays for it. Why the hell cannot he himself pay? Why should it be responsibility of the government to pay for that? The whole thing smacks of, shall I say, lunacy? Maybe it's too harsh a word. It's being moronic, as a matter of fact. Now comes to the other aspect. And that is, as I said, what unites a nation? It's a common heritage. When the immigrants come, then the heritage is no longer common. They might talk all the time of the Canadian values, but do they adopt them? No. The honor killing case we saw in Montreal, where three daughters and the second wife posing as a cousin, they were killed. We have seen the honor killing cases in British Columbia. So is that a part of the Canadian heritage? No. So the basic unifying factor of a nation, common heritage, is missing. The second is the common history. The history is not common. If there are 144 communities in a city, then there are 144 histories. So then we have the month of the Indian Heritage Month, Sikh Heritage Month, Muslim Heritage Month, and so on and so forth. But where is Canada Heritage Month? And why should there be Canadian Heritage Month? It should be Canadian Heritage Year, 365 days. Do we have that? On the Remembrance Day, we talk of the veterans. Good. But on the Canada Day, we talk of Canada. But which Canada? So the first thing has to be seen is that multiculturalism is not to be taken as something to be promoted. It is to be tolerated. And it should be obligatory for the people to talk in a language which is a national language. Again, while in social relationship, in the private relationship, they can talk in any language. They can talk in Yiddish, they can talk in Punjabi, they can talk in Tamil, okay. But the moment they are outside, the moment they are interacting with others, it should be obligatory that they talk in English. And you know what? Why Turkey rose? It used to be called the sick man of Europe. The first thing Turkey did, Kemal Atatürk did, was ban the native dress. Nobody wears the native Turkey, and nobody wears the fez cap, and nobody would wear, talk in Turkish language. English was obligatory. They had to wear the trousers and the shirts. and the nectars and completely westernized. I'm not a acolyte of Westernism, but what I say is that the culture of a country should be adopted. The immigrant has to adopt, not a but here in Canada is the other way around. It's not the immigrant who adopts, it's the host who adopts. Lord, what fools these people are. And the immigrants sometimes laugh at them. I can tell you, really. They pose, well, Canada is great, it's the Canadian values. They talk about that outside. And instead they say, what foolish people they are. Slowly we are going to rule them. I've heard it at least 3 times. When the people said, well, they are going to be ours. Some Muslim friends said so, some Sikhs said so. And when they were sick, 4 Sikh ministers, if they were unmarried, it would have been welcome. But they were not ministers because of their merit. They were ministers because they happened to be Sikhs. Wake up. Wake up before the country is rent asunder. Physically, if not physically, but mentally and psychologically. Let's have a cohesive country, a cohesive role played by the government, played by the people, and then let the immigrants be shown that the unifying factors, the unifying strands shall not be permitted to be snapped for purposes which are not conducive to the nation, and to the growth of the concept of nation. Thank you.